Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Mayor, the Madam, and the Mayhem. The show where our mission is to ignite transformative conversations that bridge the gaps between creativity, culture, politics, business, healing, and spirituality. I'm the Madam, Sonja Sohn, with my brothers.
I'm Andre Royo, Mayhem, no filter, and a bullshit detector. Love and be here.
My name is Wendell Pierce, and I'm the mayor. If you go to New Orleans, ask somebody about me, they'll say, oh yeah, I know him. I'm curious about people. I'm curious about places. I'm curious about what you think.
The mayor. Honestly, we nicknamed you the mayor too, didn't we? Like on The Wire. We nicknamed you the mayor.
Yeah.
When you took us down to, were you with us on that trip?
Nah, I nicknamed him the mayor when I saw him in New York. I used to see him on all the auditions. I go on an audition and see him coming out and be like, I ain't gonna get that part. They gonna give it to him. Motherfucking mayor of New York City. So that stuck. He was always welcoming, and he was always like, looked like he's always shaking hands and being generous to the fellow actors. Like he was waiting for our vote.
No, but when you took us there, we were doing the Essence Festival.
Yes,
that's what it was.
yes.
It was the first season. They invited us down to the Essence Festival, and that's when Don West got on the stage.
And I took you guys all around New Orleans. We went to great restaurants. We went to great music halls and all. And then Dominic West, being from London, gets on the stage with 80,000 black folks and said, yes, we're on the show called The Wire. It's going to be a real cracker. And he said, what did I say? And I said, cracker means a little something different over here.
You're right. You just a cracker. Calling the show cracker. Well, you just don't know what's happening.
Thanks for the invite, guys. I really appreciate it. No, it's good. I'm glad you had a good time.
And then Wendell proceeded to give me one of the best evenings of my life. We went on to about 4 a.m. Wendell took us all around New Orleans. We ended up in a juke joint in the Treme. In Treme,
yes.
like at 2 a.m. Like only a place that Wendell could get us into. Like second lining around the doggone club. It was amazing. So
thanks for the invite, guys.
But it's the reception that Wendell.
No, it's good. Let's hear more about the party. I wasn't there. Yeah, fantastic.
But Wendell was received with such love, because of his contribution to community, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we just needed to have that mayor energy up in here.
And you are the madam because you are a woman of great intelligence, great sophistication, great grace, and elan. And that's why we call you the madam.
Elan.
It's elan, a French word for grace.
All right, thank you.
And I was just on some fly word for like older mother. That's I was looking for something like that. But no, yeah, it's really important. No, but the mother energy, like in my middle age years, what is that? We have the maiden. And then we have the mother, and then we have the crone. These are historic archetypes for the stages of womanhood, right? And so I don't know, I just felt like Madam offers something a little bit more encompassing. I think there's a visual that comes with crone. I'd love to change the visual with that, But like Madam, brings in some wisdom, some mystery, because we're not going...
I thought it brought in other women, but that was just me. I thought you were in the sales. I thought we were talking about, something else, but all right.
No.
Anyway, I prefer my take before, but somehow we'll weave this in. I don't know.
So that's why we are called the mayor, the madam, and the mayhem.
Mayhem.
Oh, but wait a
So
minute.
now,
Can I say
why
something about the mayhem? No, hold on.
Okay,
I'm
yes.
sorry, I'm cutting. Because I think this is important. The mayhem. The mayhem to me represents chaos, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and the power of chaos when it just comes in unexpected, right? And and chaos is to me, synonymous with the Joker, like in the deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've always thought of you as that. The Fool is the highest card in the.
That's right. Make it right now. When you start off with fool, now you gotta clean it up. Make it right.
I'm gonna sit
So
back
fool,
and check this out.
make that right, madam.
All I'm saying, listen, in the tarot deck, the Fool is definitely one of the highest cards in the deck. When we're playing cards, the Joker cuts across anything. right?
Let's say Joker and stop with the fool. It's the Joker in the deck, not the fool.
But in our show, it's called you were representing the energy of the mayhem,
Yes,
right?
that's
The sacred wisdom
Yes.
of the mayhem, of chaos,
That's right.
of, right? Of,
That's
of
right.
the
Thank you.
Joker,
You got it.
right?
Thank you so much. Yes.
You got it, fool?
I got
Now, that's who we are. But now, this is why we are here. We are here because we want this podcast to be something different and transformative. One of the reasons I wanted to be a part of this is because I have that cross-section of interests that I want to build on. I feel like I'm entering the third act of my life. The first act was preparation. The second act was living your life and building your career. And now the third act, I want to build something that will be sustainable, that will outlive me, impact my life, and impact other people's lives, and bringing together my interest of culture, politics, and business to exercise my right of self-determination and leave a legacy and to build something. And it's this platform where we can see those ideas and then go out and create them into a reality. And that's why I want to be a part of this transformative podcast.
I just came here because I like to be around my friends, and I like talking and talking and talking with my mouth and not my thumbs. So I came to hang out with my peoples, find my tribe, and enlighten my mind.
Yes, indeed. Madam?
You just tacked on that ANPs.
That's right. That's what I did. I'd be foolish not to. See what I did there?
There you go, bringing the levity.
And Madam?
We were talking about this yesterday. For me, when I was asked, like, why, it would surprise me that I didn't have an answer. And I realized because I feel my way into my solutions, into my evolution, into the world. And this came to me, as a sense first. And then I thought about the seeds of the podcast and how the inspiration really, really started back in 2008 when you offered the Wirecast the opportunity to work with the National Urban League to get out the vote on behalf of the Obama campaign. And that really sort of ignited, a stage in, a season of my life of social justice, and all that, where I began to put a lot of my intention in that direction. When I came off of that tour, there were a couple of sort of concept papers that came out of me. One was Rewire for Change, which we've worked with before. But really, the other was this sort of idea that maybe we would do some sort of 106 in Park style show, like a more sort of older, sophisticated version. I mean, we were in our 30s, but we weren't like in our early 20s.
Showing music videos? We got music videos?
No.
I don't understand.
But a show that really talked about, what was going on in the world and in our lives, as Wire representatives, we seemed to attract a lot of attention. It was like, well, what can we do with this attention? To have people's attention is sacred to me, right? Time and attention is all a person has. You have complete ownership of that, and you can disperse that in any way, shape, or form. So if you got someone's attention, well, how can we honor their attention? And for me, creating a space where we can come together and be curious about, our lives, be curious about the state of the world. I mean, we clearly are living in a time where systems are not serving folks. They've broken down. And that can either get us down or it can get us curious about how we can create what's next. The tragedies, the crises that are going on in the world today, they will have you feeling hopeless, right? Mm-hmm. But if we can just, planting seeds. We planted these seeds back in 2008, right? It's 2023. This is how long it takes for some seeds to germinate. And what we want to do is have a conversation with audiences as much as we're having with ourselves, because together, through connection, we can be imagining and then inspiring and then activating, in creating the world that we want to live in, right?
I'm gonna tell
it all starts here.
I'm tell everybody, get
conversation
the
and connection.
You gotta get the dictionary now. Elon, germinate, what? Y'all gotta let me know. This is some higher level joint. But I want to be clear, just so before we continue, I know we're all actors from The Wire, but I want to let everybody know out there, this is not a Wire podcast. We will not be talking about all things The Wire, but we are a Wire family. And for those who loved and supported us from day one, I promise you that we, at the end of every segment or every, what do you call a podcast? Episode? After every episode, we'll answer a question from a fan or a friend, and we will shout out all those who supported The Wire from back in the day at the end of every episode.
But we're not specifically a Wire podcast.
No.
It's about evolution, growth, healing,
Yes.
and reimagining the world that we want to live in, and then executing and being inspired by those conversations that come to this table, and having fun.
And having fun, that's right.
Absolutely having fun.
Here we go.
All right, and I think with this one of the great things about having us three up here is that we all, talked about who was going to be our guest, and we all decided that every once in a while, each one of us will pick a guest. And today, for our first episode, the Madam has picked a guest. And who is that guest?
Well, we were stumped. First of all, let's tell. Should we tell the story of how stumped we were?
Sure.
We've been working on this for a few months, and we have like a dream list of guests, and
They all said no. Yeah, I know. It's okay.
The dream turned into a nightmare.
we hadn't asked anyone yet, truthfully. But honestly, for me, the first guest had to be someone we were going to be comfortable with, and comfortable with not executing perfectly here, right? Because we're all new at this. I was in New York, and I was walking the streets, and I was like juggling 3 different projects in my head, phone calls, and like texting, emailing on the phone. And I stepped into a craniosacral appointment.
A what?
Okay, dictionary.
Okay.
Everybody get your Google out.
All right, so I stepped into a craniosacral session, right, which is the manipulation of the soft tissue and the cerebral spinal fluid between like the base of your skull and the sacrum, the bottom of your spine. And so there's this fluid that runs throughout your whole system, and it's basically there to help regulate. All right, and sometimes you get blockages and you don't even know it. But this very, very light touch manual therapy just helps bring like a state of it's almost like it sort of regulates your nervous system. It helps contribute to that. There are a number of practices and tools, right? But this is one that helps me, particularly helped me through my last 10 years of chronic pain, which I won't go into. So at any rate, but when I go through these sessions, right? It's phenomenal. Like in the middle, as blockages are being released, sometimes, I can see things, I get little visions, I get little information, but regardless, even if not, I just step off the table feeling lighter and also just more whole and grounded, right? Mm-hmm. And I was stressing a little bit about this guest because it was literally 10 days ago we didn't have a guest, right? And I was just like, let go, just go and take care of yourself. That's always, just so y'all know, that's always a good idea. Like when you're up in your head, like just let go and take care of yourself, get grounded. So here I was in the session, and I was having all kinds of amazing releases, which we won't go into at the very end. I'm lying there.
That was so dirty.
I just
Go and take care of yourself.
Cranium section.
Go take care of yourself, and after a release,
Just release
a
it
name
all.
popped into my mind.
No,
Okay.
Okay. The session was just about over, and the last thing, the thing that popped up in my mind was, I felt this pulsing. Listen. Because honestly, you can hear.
You don't release
you can
at
hear.
some point.
Shut up.
When
You
the
can
pulsing
hear.
is happening.
Viagra, that's that Cialis. Release.
Release.
You can hear. No, if you're settled, you can. Sometimes you can hear it, like an internal sort of hearing of this fluid. And sometimes, right? So just as I was feeling a settling of that. I saw Ramon's face.
Where did he hear that intro? Wow. So his face.
I saw his face.
Ramon who?
It was like his face popped up. There was a light behind his head.
Ramon.
It's
Ramon.
like, Ramon. I was like, it's Ramon. That's who the guest is. It's Ramon.
And this Ramon
There's
is.
a bunch of
Ramon.
there's a bunch of Ramones right now going, I didn't get no call. I didn't get no call. There's a bunch of Ramones listening right now like, is she talking about me? What the fuck? I would love Sonja Sohn to call me. Ramon who?
It's I didn't roll that.
Mouth is all dry now, huh? Come on.
After all that
My
pulsating.
cheeks. Oh God. It's Ramon Rodriguez.
Ramon Rodriguez.
Ramon Rodriguez.
Rodriguez. Oh, we love Ramon Rodriguez.
Ramon.
Is this a shameless? Wait, is this the same Ramon Rodriguez that's on your show?
Right. Exactly.
Will Trent, what a shameless plug. What's going on?
After all that pulsating.
All the pulsating Ramon Rodriguez.
We're not using that, are we?
Oh, yeah. That's the keeper.
Oh, yes, we are.
All right, so
Oh,
Ramon.
yes, we
Go
are.
weave that in.
So our first guest on the Madam
Now y'all
The
know why.
Mayhem is Ramon Rodriguez, actor, director, writer extraordinaire. We are here with our first initial amazing guest.
First guest ever. First guest ever.
First guest ever on the podcast who has a connection to everyone here at this round table. We're going to have a wonderful conversation, but first, there's someone who's very special to our guests because they have an extra connection, because we always wanted to bring people to this transformative conversation who we want to speak to, right? The people that we want to meet. And you were on the top of our list because of the relationship that you have with this woman to my left, the Madame. And she just wanted to speak to that first. Sonja?
Well, the relationship you have to all of us, really. But honestly, we have been in the process of putting this podcast together for a few months now, and you have this like dream guest list or whatever, right? But you got to do the first one, and so. We were thinking, who's that person, right? Because it has to be someone that we feel comfortable with, but someone who we're not doing a Wire podcast. That was the other thing. And even though, we have some sort of connection like that, there's a whole other association that we have together. But also, what we're trying to do is sort of ignite, transformative conversations around community. I know that that's something that you care about, and also bring together voices that don't often, get the platform to, actually, reflect. We want to talk a little bit about your vulnerabilities. We want to talk a little bit about what's exciting you right now, what's inspiring you right now, your journey, any sort of healing stories you have to offer.
Going in, it sounds like.
We got a dossier here.
I can see that.
Okay.
I can see that.
Right.
We're going in.
Right. But we're going to do all that New York, stuff too. But
I want to first start off by congratulating y'all on doing this, first of all. And not only is it your first podcast, it's my first time on a podcast.
What?
I've never done this. So this is my first one, too.
Nice. Thanks for blessing
Don't
us.
often do it,
Blessing
but
us.
what an honor it is for me to come. I love the connections. Wendell, we just said a moment ago, I know we never had scenes together,
Right.
but we obviously were in the same space together and shared a lot of the same energy.
And the fact is, a word that is a linchpin for us is transformative. And you are a transformative artist. Ramon Rodriguez, I did not know you were the same cat from The Wire. I'm like, no. And literally, I discovered that as we were doing prep for today.
Okay.
I was amazed. I said, that cannot be the same cat. Okay. And I realized that you have a great transformative nature about you. And one of the things that I want to first initiate and ask you is, you consider yourself a New Eurekan.
Correct.
Please explain to the people, what is a New Eurekan?
All right. First of all, thank you for those wonderfully kind, generous words. And everybody up here is incredibly loaded, talented. So, but a New Eurekan, for those who don't know, New Yorker, that's also Puerto Rican, has some sort of Puerto Rican lineage, heritage, part of the diaspora. And so my family, who first all came from the island of Puerto Rico to New York, as many did, migrated during the 50s and 60s. And I am first generation that gets to represent being a New Yorker and Puerto Rican, and very proud of that connection. I've always said there's an invisible umbilical cord from New York City to Puerto Rico. There's a pride. If you've ever been in New York during the Puerto Rican Day Parade,
Oh, man.
you will see millions of Puerto Ricans turn out. You will see that flag everywhere. We have a pride that is really powerful and strong. And even going back to the island, it's really interesting when you hear people on the island talk about the diaspora and folks that are out there in the States, that pride that they carry. And so it's something I'm very proud of. I've dialed in more and more in every way I can, helping the island, helping my people. And obviously growing up in a neighborhood that was predominantly Puerto Rican, the Lower East Side, that has a rich history of Puerto Rican heritage and culture. So I love that part. And, Sonia and I talk a lot about it. What, I've been able to be a part of in New York and in Puerto Rico, it just fills me up. And to see our community thrive and also struggle.
Right.
A lot of struggle. Lower East Side, that gentrification, what's happening there, how do we keep a foothold? How do we keep the small businesses? How do we show the folks coming in, like, hey, just so you know, there's a history here. So it's been an interesting process, and getting with the community leaders as well, and dialed in with them.
So you have a great pride in your community, which is evident. It's evident not only in your work, because we've seen you as a great artist, as an actor, first starting out in Law and Order and Rescue Me and all the different shows in New York. You do short films that speak to your activism, and you get involved. As a Puerto Rican New Yorker, a New Eurekan, does it disturb you? Because it disturbs me. I'm the mayor in this podcast, so politics is of great importance to me. I cannot think of Puerto Rico without thinking of representation and not having representation. I think Puerto Rico should be the 51st state. Do you agree?
That's a very loaded question, Wendell, because for me, the question that has to go beyond that, or maybe even before that, rather, is the recognition that it's a colony. And that's something that's not often spoke about enough. It's a colony, it's a territory, but it's really a colony. That doesn't come up often enough. And colonization and what that does to a mentality for people is really, really profound. So the statehood versus independence versus it being in the gray area that it is in now, personally, I don't live on the island, so I don't have a right to make a choice on that. The people that live there on the day-to-day and have to deal with the politics of that and the ramifications of what either decision is, that's on them to decide. I love and on the island, I have an aunt that is full on independence. If you speak to her in English, she'll say, "No me hablas así, háblame en español. Speak to me in Spanish. That's my language. That's the language of my people." So it's interesting. And then you have people that do say, "Yeah, if we were a state, here are the benefits, this and that." It's a complicated thing. The one thing I do know for a fact is being a colony, there's so much that you don't get access to. There's so many things that unfortunately, if the U.S. struggles, the island, and also just that relationship we used to produce on the island, as when we don't produce anything. And by the way, it's not only the U.S., we were a colony with Spain. So it's been a constant transition of colonization. Meanwhile, we had our native Tainos on the island and that history. And so it's a very, that's why I say it's a loaded question. And I feel like I could just speak to what I see. When I see that we don't produce anymore, I see the job status, the economic status on the island. It breaks my heart because I do remember what we used to produce and what we used to make and the pride of that. Like if you go to Cuba, and you can have your feelings about Cuba, but they're farming, they're making, like there's an independence of what they do, and there's obviously a different other side of it as well. So it's a loaded, complicated, and I love it, and it's something I actually want to talk more about. I'm developing a show about this because it's a subject that not a lot of people know a lot about. And it's easy from here to sort of say what you think is best for the island until you're on the island and you're there and you're seeing what they're sort of dealing with. And so it's.
All right.
Yeah.
I got a less loaded question. How'd you feel when Trump was throwing up the paper towels and everybody was catching that joint?
Yeah, no, that was disrespectful.
Right?
Foul to see, the president of the United States do that. But, interestingly enough, man, that hurricane, Maria, in 2017 of September, it actually educated people for the first time. A lot of people didn't know Puerto Ricans were U.S. citizens.
I know, man. It's
I
crazy.
mean, interestingly enough, him throwing, and it was awful. I'm not saying it was a good thing.
Yeah.
But like it brought a whole conversation of what is Puerto Rico? Where is Puerto Rico? You know, I grew up, I played basketball up in northern Michigan. People they thought, oh, Puerto Rico. Well, you know, what part of Mexico is that? I'm like,
Yeah. Dang.
okay. You know, so it actually brought some awareness, and on the island, which was really fascinating. It created a real strong movement that people were like, we're done with this.
Right.
We're over this.
Right.
So that's why you get a lot of people that are like, not a statehood. That's a representation of statehood.
Right, right.
You know, so it's interesting, you know, and so they especially the youth of the island, which was amazing to watch. You saw, and I remember this so vividly, it was beautiful. They galvanized and started protesting for weeks on end and got the governor to resign.
Right. I remember that.
And I remember people here going, why can't we do that?
Yeah.
Why can't we get this fool that nobody agree, like, you know, with all the rhetoric and everything he's pushing and racism and all of this stuff, why can't we galvanize and come together? And it was amazing that this horrific, traumatic event that killed so many people,
Right.
and that the response was so awful. You know, New Orleans, Katrina,
Right.
hello.
This was Hurricane Maria was exactly what Hurricane Katrina did in New Orleans, and it spurred me, as
Correct.
Maria did with you, because I want people to know that you built rooftops for people, over 100 rooftops for
Over
folks.
500.
500. I'm sorry.
Over 500 roofs on the
Get
island.
it right. Get it
Count
right.
that 400 out. man.
Right.
That's
I know.
500 families that
Right,
have a
man.
roof over their head now
Telling
that
you,
didn't.
man.
And if you've not ever, you know, these are things we take for granted. Like a roof over you ever hear that saying? At least you have a roof over your head. I got to see people that didn't have that anymore. You're exposed to the elements. But back to the colony thing, the Jones Act, which is a part of being a colony, prevented goods and services to come help our people.
Right.
We didn't get so much help, the federal response, as it was in Katrina.
Right.
And we talk about that all the time. Had that been somewhere else, would it have been the same response?
We recognize Hurricane Maria as being the second coming of Katrina.
Yeah.
People were treated the same way.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that you, as an artist and a creative, were moved to do something, because that's what I believe creativity and artistry is.
Yeah.
So now the mayor has spoken. I'm gonna step back a little bit right now, and we're gonna start to talk about your creativity a lot more, and your skills and your skills. So I'm gonna turn it over to Mayhem.
Yeah. I want to find out a couple of things, because you spoke about pride a lot, and you know you exude it. And coming from New York, your stances, you know, be true to yourself. When The Wire did come out, what was it like with that audition? Were you scared to play a lover of a...
To play a gay character?
Is that
1,000% I was.
Right?
1,000% I was. You know, it was. I remember the audition very clearly, and it wasn't a part of like that process. Actually, it is when it became real. When I got the job, and I'll never forget my first day.
Laying in bed, right? It was
Freezing winter in Baltimore.
laying
It's my first scene on the job.
Yeah.
And I gotta lay butt naked to rest in peace his beautiful soul, Michael K. Williams. What an honor. What a privilege. But prior to that scene, I went, Michael, can we speak?
Can we get to know each other, please?
Mike, can we speak? I got a question for you. Listen, and I didn't really know him at all. Yeah. And I said, you know, but I knew he was from Brooklyn. And I was like, I know you got to go back home. And this is ignorance. I was young, and I was like, but I got to go back to my hood, my people. I just want to know, how have you been received when you go back? How is this character? And he said to me, I'll never forget, nothing but respect. He was like, the way this character's written and the way your character's written, you ain't got nothing to worry about. You just do what the work is. And I was like, and I jumped in bed with him butt naked in the cold winter in Baltimore.
But did you talk to anybody before you took it, though? That's what I'm saying. Like, did you get the audition and go, wait, I got to find out, am I okay to do this?
Nah, I hadn't, to be honest, I hadn't watched the show yet, man, and checked that out. But I told my people.
You had to let them know, right?
And they were like, yo, you don't know what you're about to get
That's
into.
right.
They were like, you about to, and I was like, okay. And then I watched the show once I got the part, and I was like, oh, wow.
Okay.
Wow. And on that set and on that experience, as I'm sure we all had, and you guys especially, y'all were there. You guys were the pillars, the foundation of that. You know, for me to step into that world, I can't tell you it was the best school, one of the best experiences I've had as an artist was being on that project. And again, I was fortunate enough to work alongside who I think might be one of the greatest artists of our generation. Like, really honestly, that dude and his soul and his spirit and what he brought to that character, and that I got to play along that and just learn and watch. And I'm an observer. I'm a student of the game till this day. And I would just be watching everybody, seeing what everybody's doing, seeing how it all works, seeing those scripts. And I remember I was spoiled because when that role was done, I thought, okay, they're all gonna be like this.
They all don't write like that. They don't write like that.
You realize that very quickly. I remember I went to David Simon and I was like, I was like, oh, I got a thought about this thing, and I was thinking, he was like, the 4 episodes down, this is what happens, and that's why this. And I was like, oh, this has been really thought through, and I'm sure maybe y'all have, but I went and watched afterwards. I went and watched the pilot with David's narrative when he talks through it. Have you ever done that?
No, I haven't.
Yo, this is like, he's dropping. You can.
Where is that?
It's on the DVD. On the DVD. You hear him talk about.
The DVDs? You remember that?
You remember those? Exactly. Yeah. But it was mind blowing to see him talk like just the detail, the granular aspect of how he thought this. Not only did he think it all through, but just the way the show was executed. Like, the show doesn't have a score.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Most people aren't aware of that. It doesn't have if you hear music on the show, it's coming from the environment.
Right. Either from the radio
That's
or somebody on the
there's
street.
a source.
Right, the source.
And I was like, yeah, like details that he was throwing in there.
It's like cinema verite, like you pull the curtain aside.
Right. And you realize why it's so great. Yeah. And anything that's great is like that.
Now, you are a star now. You are Will Trent, right? You are a star of a major show on one of the major networks, ABC.
With Sonja Sohn.
With Sonja Sohn.
Shameless plug. It all makes sense now, right? It all makes sense now. Shameless plug, but congratulations.
He's my baby Will. He's my baby Will. He's my baby Will. Oh, see, look at that.
Made me nervous. Got
him nervous.
You know, I feel like we're moving a little fast. I just want to say, like, with in terms of The Wire, I mean, you lasted in that character. There were a few Omar had a few lovers prior to your character who didn't make it. Okay, so I think it's no. No, I mean to be an artist and to hold that space, you know, is really important, especially in the world that we're living in right now. And I think you did it with respect, you did it with grace, you did it with honor and intention, you know. And I think sometimes people don't understand what we're bringing, you know, to the work, you know. I just want to put that out to you, and I feel you bring the same thing to Will Trent. So you know, Dre was helping me prep, right?
Of course he was.
Dre was my prep partner all last year for the Foreman piece for Will Trent.
Yeah.
And Dre was like, so you know, it's Ramon. Actually, I said that in the reading that we did together
on Zoom, which was
Zoom,
crazy.
Right. So Jay was like, so what's he like? I said, yo, he's serious. You know, he come to work. He come to work.
I do.
And you're boss on this, right? You my boss man. That's like a whole flip now. You're not just an actor on the show, you're a producer on the show. So talk to us a little bit about the difference and what you have to bring to the table. Because whenever I did, you know, working with you, you know, and I think it gives us an opportunity also just to chat a little bit about the process a little bit and working together and what it takes, you know, to be an actor. From you come on The Wire, you do, various shows, films, and now you get the opportunity to be in a position of some power.
Yeah, the position is called number one on the call sheet.
Number one on the call sheet as a star of the show, but also as a producer, right? Yeah. And so what, you know, setting a tone, like how do you occupy both of those spaces, and what, you know, how do you negotiate those? You know, talk to us a little bit about that, because I think we're all doing our versions of that and have found it challenging.
Right here. You're doing it right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, I directed and produced 2 documentaries, and so used to being like, you know, not behind the camera. You know, there was a learning curve, and there's an energetic shift, you know, that I'm still, curious about and mastering. So talk to us a little bit about that.
I love I love the creative process and getting in on it as early as possible, personally. And so even before this, I had produced another pilot for Hulu, which is how I got Will Trent. And I've been producing and directing shorts. It's what I want to do, and that's where I'm headed, directing and producing. So, but this show wasn't for me going to happen unless I was a producer. It had to happen for me, because I need to be able to be involved early on developing. Look, personally, I'm not a huge fan of most network television. And so for me, I was very scared when they approached me with this, especially, it came on the heels because it's from the same studio that did this pilot that was wonderful for Hulu that they passed on, called Olga Dies Dreaming. And it was like a Puerto Rican, it was beautiful, beautiful show. Didn't get picked up. And then so they came to me with Will Trent, and I was like, not sure about it at all. Didn't read the books, read the books, and slowly was like, okay, this is the main thing I loved about it was just this complicated character. It made me a little nervous, which when that happens usually could be a good sign. But that process of being involved, especially television, because it's so long, it goes for so long. It's important that for me, that I'm getting into bed with folks that I really believe in and that are taste, because taste is something I feel like isn't talked about enough. Like, because you can like something and everyone can have their different perspective and opinion, but are we trying to make the same show? Do we all agree that we're trying to elevate it somehow, some way? And that for me was, I don't want to just say we're making another, there's enough cop shows already. And by the way, if they wanted to make another one, they could have, but I wanted to try our best, and I needed to know I've got champions and we're building like an army to go to war to try to make the best thing possible. And in that process, you got to know that you're going with folks that are going to deal with network executives and studio executives and have those conversations of receiving notes, and how do you make them feel heard but not compromise the spirit of something that you're trying to create. And in network is hard, it's hard, it's harder. So that was a key part, is for me to be to get involved. And so I did, and they agreed, and I got in early on. And part of that was getting you on. When that conversation came about, I was like, Sonja, there was a list, and you were on that list. And I was like, we got to get you, Erica, who I'd never worked with, but I've known for a while back. We're able to get her on, and just all of the and all the creative conversations and all that stuff. Being in on it early, I love storytelling. I love it. It gets me excited. So the earlier I could get in on it, the better for me. And luckily, they were cool. They were down to collaborate. Like, are you collaborators? Are you open to hearing me out? But it's also, you got to build trust. The reality is, in our business, there's a lot of folks that get that producer credit. They don't do nothing.
They don't do anything for it.
I'm not that guy.
Right.
Like, I can't be that guy. I don't want to be that guy. And so, are you cool with me not being that guy? I'm going to come in with thought, can we have a conversation? And for me, best idea wins. I don't care who says it, where it comes from.
So you're saying when you get into bed, you want to get in bed and do the work.
True. Fact.
Okay, so
Fact.
On and offset,
Fact.
when you get into bed, get to work.
Okay, so biggest challenge, biggest hindrance, greatest joy of taking on both roles. Biggest challenge.
Biggest challenge is, without a doubt, at least season 1, is time. You only have so much time, and the management of time became critical. Where I put my focus and when I do that. And not only that, I need, for me, like, how do I carve out the time for myself? Not only to act, but to recover, because it's exhausting. And so I need to be fresh every day, as you say, walk on the set and be, the people I've worked with that have inspired me, I've seen how they operate, and I go, I love how that works. And there's many ways, and many styles, and many, but the ones that there's like a respect level and integrity, they show up prepared.
Any names you want to drop? Or you want to give them a little shout out?
A bunch. I mean, work with Denzel, pro.
That's right.
Bryan Cranston, pro. Just professionals, man. They show up and they're open. They're, can be collaborative. And then I've had the flip experience where it's not that, and I'm like,
Any names?
I'm not gonna do that. 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 I'm not gonna do that.
Okay, greatest hindrance to, let's go greatest hindrance to your process as an actor. as an actor?
With doing that,
Yeah.
it's just time. It's just time.
It's all time.
It's all time because it gets just so consolidated between giving notes on the script, giving notes on the cuts, between finding the directors, giving notes on sound. But I love it. And so I will never, ever complain or say a word about it.
Right.
I won't. And by the way, I've just recognized as well, I want to be able to see more people like me, like us in those positions.
Absolutely.
And as we all know, personally, my experience, I got to be 200 times better.
Right? Because they want to snatch that opportunity away
Very
from
quickly.
you.
And I'm sure you've experienced on your show, on our show, we've seen it. There's a very significant difference. It's beautiful when you're the cast and the crew on television. Directors come in and out. You see their processes. And when I see a Latina director and how she showed up, nothing against our other white men directors, but there's a comfort and I'm good, I know I got the next one.
Right.
We don't have that luxury.
Right.
And so I take that very serious. And so for me, I step into it you're not going to see me sweat. I'm going to do my best. Not that I'll be vulnerable with those I need to be vulnerable with, but I won't complain about the time. You figure it out and you start. And I developed a system. That system really worked about sort of just compartmentalizing. I got to do this for this for that. I need the weekend to recover.
Right.
I get my Sunday massage. I
Right.
do my bathtub with Epsom salts.
How about the basketball? You got the basketball.
Basketball's always in the car.
Always there,
Always
right?
in the car.
Always
Key.
That's your
Key.
relaxation.
Because you started out as a basketball player.
So that's how I started. When you asked how I got into the biz, it was through my man, childhood friend, DJ Babito Garcia. Cucumber slice. Bob was my neighbor.
Is that who I was talking about? Papito.
You made some sneakers.
Yes.
So he was my neighbor forever. And he had a radio show back in the day, introduced every hip-hop icon that everybody loves, Stretch and Babito, 89.9. And Bob calls me out my window, yo, there's a Nike event. This is in 2001. They're giving away, it's a trick competition. And they're giving away, actually, I wasn't even sure if I was going to go. I'm like, I got another tournament. I was like, I'll probably go to this game. He's like, they're giving away free sneakers. I was like,
I'll make a change.
I'll make that work.
I'll make that work.
And I go to the event, man, and it ended up being a huge event with, celebrity judges and Fat Joe and Kenya Martin from the Nets at the time and Angie Martinez.
Hip-hop rap artists, for those who don't know.
Exactly. These are references to hip-hop. And so, man, and that event, basically, I did really well. I got the sneakers, got a check. Nike asked me to be a part of a bunch of commercials. And those commercials did really well. I traveled the world with Nike. Then I did those shows you talked about.
Did really well.
Did well. I think you destroyed And One. Didn't you destroy? Aren't you part of destroying And One sneaker company with a Nike commercial?
And One was a sneaker company that had a basketball tournament reality show that was going on that was huge. That everybody was gravitating towards.
And a Nike commercial came out.
Nike commercial came out with a kid who had from New York, had played ball in Michigan and in West Virginia. In West Virginia.
Yeah.
And I remember that commercial. And another thing I discovered about you, I did not know that was you. Transformative. I'm like, that's not the same cat who was on The Wire, who's Will Trent. And they were like, yes. I said, the kid from the Nike commercial with the skills that blew up.
You choreographed it, right, or something like that?
No. So that was that main cat was my man Trix. I gotta give props to Trix.
Right.
That was him. He had the one that had the solo commercial. I did a bunch of Nike commercials that involved with all those cats, and then we started a group. We were the Nike Freestylers. We did every NBA team halftime show and every major college halftime show, and then our deal with Nike ended, and then I started my own group with Babito, Project Playground, who was also in the Nike commercial. And then we kept doing the tours and the shows, and New York agent was like, hey, you want to try something without basketball? I was like, yeah. And I did some other commercials, and then did some theater in New York, and then Rescue Me and the Law, the staples you got to do in New York. You got to go through though. Got it. If it's not Law and Order, it's not real. Nah, you didn't make it.
No. Law and Order, Rescue Me.
You got, those are the classics.
Maybe this is a good point, a good place for like a segue into your personal story. your journey, you know, the evolution of Ramón Rodríguez into the ravishing Ramón Rodríguez, which is
Sonia
how we
loves to do
introduced
that.
you already. Oh,
She loves to do
wait
that.
till you hear the
Oh, my
the
goodness.
introduction.
Okay.
Yeah. I ain't call that motherfucker ravishing. I didn't roll my R like that. I didn't do none of that.
A reviewer referred to him as the ravishing Ramón Rodríguez last year, and I just am not going to let him live it down ever.
There it is.
But
Shooting a shot.
I want to talk a little bit. You know, I want you to share a little bit about your personal story. You know, coming from the Lower East Side. You know, being raised, you know, in that home with, you know, a mother and the sisters, and I talk a little bit about your schooling. You know, going away from school, just kind of like how your dreams evolved. You know, did you ever during those years did you see yourself, you know, in these positions? Did you have some sort of, you know, I tend to think creative people can have some sort of intuition as to, you know, where they're going. Did you feel yourself into this? Did someone inspire you or mentor you? Like, give us a little snapshot of that.
Mentors are critical.
Answer all those questions
Answer
in
all
five,
those
in 5 minutes.
Exactly. Here we go. Go.
Yes,
now.
just to share your journey.
Yeah, I mean, Lower East Side of New York, single mom with 3 sisters. You know, dad is a musician and bounced when I was young, and I didn't put that together too much later in life and understood what that whole side of my life was, which was interesting. But yeah, man, I'm grateful for that childhood. Like, you know, didn't have a lot, but my mom, man, is just she's a superhero. There's no doubt about it.
You
Like,
had a roof over your head.
I had a roof over my head
go, man.
and a lot of love. And it's crazy how, like, that's it. You might not have a lot, but if there's love, if that's existing.
Right.
Keeps you going.
And so, in fact, I didn't realize how broke I was growing up until when I went to Michigan.
You're like, oh, that's your house?
Yeah, straight up. You know, you have your own room? I was like, oh, okay. You know, so, but I love that. Like, you know, we grew up when it's so small and it's such a tight family, like even like it was funny, like not having a room, like you argue, like you can't go and slam your door. Like you just, you got to turn your back and that's it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like
So mad.
So exactly. Like you got to know it, you know, but the growing up and during that time in New York and I spent a lot, you know, I was in the streets, you know, and I'm grateful for that. I'm lucky as well. I know how lucky I am. Like I could like see the instances of when it could have gone another way. It's so clear.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
that could have gone this way.
Yeah, you said something. I think in some interview you said that the streets helped raise you.
They did.
And
for sure.
I think a lot of people think of that and hear that and they think it's a negative connotation.
No.
But it's not.
It's not.
Speak to the positives of what you mean by when you say the streets raised you.
Well, there's a code.
That's right.
There's a very clear code of how you got to operate, and there's a respect. There's also a survival. You know how to survive when you know. So those basic sort of, you know, ethics and morals of how to grow up and how to survive and also adapt and be exposed to so much, especially, again, a city like New York. During that time, I was exposed to everything. I didn't experience real racism till I left West Virginia, Northern Michigan. It's just interesting in New York, you're just exposed to all, and independence. I was on the streets, running around, I mean, 12 years old, I was out, 11 years old, out. And, but not like my mom would say, like, stay on the block. Just stay on the block where I can try to see you. Stay on the block. And then obviously I go off the block. I go on adventure and see what else is going on.
lesson learned.
Yeah, exactly.
But in New York, around the corner,
Yeah.
there's a whole world.
It's a whole, yeah, but like,
even
and I
on the
remember
block.
I used to think like my block was the world. That's right. It's the world.
What street did you grow up on?
So I was on 9th between B and C, and then 14th between 1st and 2nd.
Oh, okay.
and
I was squatting on 7th between C and D
Me
for
too.
a while.
7th between C and D,
Yep.
of course, street from John Leguizamo. He lived
Sure,
right
he's
there.
done it. Yep, yep. There are a couple of Rosarios in the neighborhood. And so I'm grateful for all of that, and I feel like I'm also lucky, and I recognize to like get out of that. And again, like there's situations that I know could have gone another way. There's a very pivotal moment when I call him my cousin, as we all do. He's not. He's a childhood friend of mine, but he was a massive impact and mentor in my life. There was a pool hall called Le Cube.
Yes,
Le Cube.
on 14th.
It was a little south of, I was like on 11th or 12th.
That's right.
And I was in there, I remember late at night, and again, I might have been like 11, 12 years old, and hanging with friends, up to doing dumb shit. And this Larry, man, he came in, Larry's 6'5", skinny, and he came in and he was like, "You wanna go play ball?" And I don't know why. I was like, yeah. And, you know, I had a cigarette in my hand. I was playing ball, I was drinking. And, like, that moment of him inviting me to go play ball, and from that moment on, I became obsessed with basketball. Like, just a fever.
Where'd you play? What park?
We went that time, well, Tompkins Square Park was my park.
Okay.
That park, I also say, raised me. There was another park at PS 104 on 19th that I used to go to a lot as well with him. And so we went, and we just started playing, and then he started introducing drills to me. And again, I didn't have a male figure, and a positive one really in my life at that time. And this dude was just a wonderful source of, like, here's something we can do together. Here's something you can work towards. And he saw how I was gravitating towards it. And at the same time, I didn't learn till later on, he had lost his brother who died on the basketball court.
Wow.
And so I think he was also yearning. I put that together later on. He was searching for something. And I wasn't looking for it. He was about 8 years older than me. And he took me in, and he beat me up. Like, in a healthy way, though. But in basketball, he's 6'5". He would be like, you know, and just the discipline, the hard work, the ethics, shoveling snow in the winter to just shoot around, and I became absolutely, you know, I used to sleep with my basketball right there. Boom, Betty. Her name was Betty.
You ever beat him?
Oh, now you
I
got a
did.
dog named Betty.
Yeah, exactly. How crazy is that?
Oh,
How crazy is that?
oh my God, you can use that.
I know,
That's like-
I know.
Betty the
Yeah,
basketball.
it's
Now-
crazy, right? It all comes together somehow.
Oh my God.
But
yes, it does.
that was he was a major figure in my life and really helpful. Just pivoted my whole path in a beautiful way and gave me this thing that, like, you know, look at what basketball's done for me. Like, it's just crazy. And then Nike, there was a gentleman, Jerry at Nike, who at that event invited me and took me, boom, commercials, traveled around. He was a huge mentor of mine as well. And so, like, and a teacher in 7th grade, Mr. MC, black teacher who was amazing. MC.
MZ.
Carol Lin-Manuel. That dude caught me. So 7th grade was like my worst year in school. I cut school. I was at this awful public school up in Wagner. And I didn't go to school for a while, like 3 weeks. And anyhow, I ended up failing everything. Went to summer school. At summer school, Mr. MC was, I think, teaching English. And he said, okay, I need you to write a story. And I went and wrote a story about a family of roaches, because that's what I knew. And it was a family of roaches, and the lead roach, Ricky Roach Chin. And there's a whole story about this roach and his family, and they go into this black thing, and it was raid. It was this whole story I created. And he looked at it, and he was like, this is amazing. He was like, you should test for my school. He was like, he was at 104 as a summer school teacher, and then he was a teacher at the lab school in New York. And so then, anyway, these are like pivotal people that took me and sort of like, and Larry helped me get into Michigan. That was an amazing experience up north in Michigan with basketball, exposed me
That
to.
was a boarding school you went
That was
to.
a boarding school. First time, I mean, you know, that was true independence. 14 years old, mom's not there, you gotta do your own laundry.
Was that choice? Like, did you
I wanted
want
that.
to go to boarding school?
I wanted to get, I knew for some reason I had to get out of where I was. And I knew basketball was my way.
Right.
And so he had a connection to that school. Somebody from there came, saw me play, and they offered me a scholarship.
What did mom say? 'Cause mom don't let her boy, like...
She was cool, man.
cool?
She knew it, I think, too. Like, this is a good thing for my son. And she recognized that, and so I went, and that changed my life. Like, I was off the block, and it was like my blinders went wide open, and I got exposed to so much. And then, you know, again, then that led to a scholarship at a school in West Virginia. So,
Wow.
Now that's transformative.
That is, man.
That really is transformative. Now, you have taken that, the mentorship relationship that those men and women had in your life, and you're doing it yourself. You know, you are making sure that others receive that mentorship from you. One, how are you doing that? And two, what's the importance of that for you?
oh, I take that that's a responsibility I take real serious. I mean, as a producer, again, even, you know, we have a Puerto Rican writer this year.
Oh, do we?
Yes, we do.
Oh, awesome.
That was something I was like, we need a Latina writer.
A real person, right? Not an AI.
Straight up, yeah.
Okay,
Not
good.
exactly. Not a created.
We still have our DP.
Not a button on the keyboard.
We
The brother.
We
The Latino brother.
we do. Yes,
Still here.
Eduardo.
Eduardo, right.
He's
yeah,
back.
He's still okay.
He's back.
Got it.
And so anyway, that you know, I remember, like, I used to watch I Love Lucy,
Yeah.
And there was something about seeing at the end of the show, Desilu Productions.
Yeah.
And I was like, Desi Arnaz, that dude's not just in front, he's a beast. He's producing this with Lucy, like
Right.
Lucille Hall. I was like, okay. So I know the impact of what it is when you see someone that looks like you on screen, or if you see a credit and you go, oh, you know. And so even just that, and finding people, or if there's, you know, people that are trying to get in the business, there's any way, I mean, one of the things I want to do as a producer is just help tell more of our stories.
Right.
And not just the same sort of stereotypical cliche, you know, not the, you know, I don't want to continue. It's a powerful medium. It's very, very powerful. And I just feel like there's a responsibility. It doesn't mean we can't tell stories that involve crime or this or that. It's just how you do it and how you navigate that in a way. Maybe you have something to say about that. You know, it's
Right.
not just to do it, to, you know. And so even with the characters I choose, I try to be mindful of it, where it's like, I don't want to just portray, I mean, as all of us, we want something. We want someone that's compelling, complicated, layered.
Yeah.
You know, your character, yo, was so.
I mean, that's the why, like you said, spoiled.
That's right.
When you saw multi-layered characters,
Right.
you wanted that in every role.
Every role,
Yeah.
you see that.
Yeah.
We got spoiled. We had that taste early on. So I mean,
And when you fight that battle with people who want to kind of constrain our stories, the thing that gives you a weapon to fight back with is the more specific
correct.
we are, the more universal the story becomes.
Always,
right?
always.
The more specific,
It's in
the
the
more
specificity.
universal
Correct.
it becomes.
That's correct.
Because they will tell you, the lie is, no. People don't want to see that, or they won't understand that. Well, actually, it'll draw them in.
Not
If
only
they don't-
that, it's a human experience.
Right.
We all have these experiences. You know, like you see movies from Korea, from South America, from Europe, and you're reading the subtitles, but you're connecting with these characters. Oh, my uncle is a little bit like that, or whatever it is, or that journey that they go on. So you're right. It's in the specificity as opposed to writing cliches.
Right.
You know? And
Right.
so in that is and by the way, that's what we want. I feel like that's, as artists and as audiences, you want to feel like you could relate to it somehow.
And that's the most important part of it, right? Entertainment is a byproduct of what we do. But the real purpose of it is, the reason we turn off the lights and go into a movie theater or turn on the television or go into a theater is because we want to see our perspective of how we deal with this journey called life.
Yeah.
Right? And what thoughts are to the individual, the work is to the community as a whole, the place where we reflect on who we are, what we're going to do, who we hope to become, our failures, our triumphs, what our values are, and then leave there and act on those values.
Exactly.
Right? And that's the power that you have, and that's what I see in the work that you do, the short films that you do, the control that you have in the business, in the artistry that you do, and the activism, you know, what you did on the island, what you do with the kids, your basketball group and kids and what they do. So that's real important. You are a demonstration of what true artistry is about. And in America, we forget the role of the artist, that we are here so the community can reflect on what their
Right.
journey is,
Right.
declare what their values are,
Right.
and then go out and act on them. So
Exactly.
I wanted to say that to congratulate you,
Yeah.
because what you've done is miraculous.
Well, thank you, brother. Appreciate that. And nah, I agree. Everything you just said, you know, it's connecting. We want to connect with each other. You know, we want to sort of understand and feel felt and heard and seen. And so when you see these journeys, like you said, you can reflect on that and maybe, you know, my first screenplay, that's what it's about. My first film I wrote, I'm like, I wanted, it's about making peace with your past. We all have trauma in our lives. We
Right,
all have a
right.
past. And I remember for a long time, I felt and I believed that my past was dictating my present and future. And that doesn't need to be the case, no matter what you've been through.
Right.
And like that message, and the more specific you get culturally, because it's going to be a New Eurekan story. But all of y'all you may not be New Eurekan, but you get it. You're like, oh yeah, yeah. Immediately y'all are like, yeah. We have history, there's trauma, there's things that we've gone through, you know? And so like that's that experience you're talking about.
Wow. Wow. Well, I think that's really a great place to do.
I'm not scared. I'll climb in bed with you. I'll climb in bed with you, Ramon.
Buck naked, too.
Whoa. There you go directing.
No.
Oh my God. I think that's an awesome place for us to begin to sort of like bring it down. I want to introduce a possible feature that like these guys have no idea I'm about to introduce Ramon.
Perfect.
And so we're just going to give it a go. We're going to give it a whirl. If we don't like it, we'll cut it. But this is an exercise I did over the weekend. I just
You were on a retreat.
Yes, I was. I was on a combination silent meditation somatic retreat, which was really beautiful, which we'll go into at another time. But we did this one exercise. It's an inquiry. It's sort of like it's putting. We did an inquiry. Let's just call it that, right? So for 60 seconds, and I'll start. Okay, for 60 seconds, answer finish this sentence over and over again. If you knew me, you would know. So I'll start the timer at 60 seconds, and I'll start. If you knew me, you would know. And the whole thing, we have to keep eye contact.
Oh, we're gazing.
Yeah, we have to keep eye contact, right?
Me and Wendell will fall back on this. Y'all
Okay.
gaze into each other's eyes.
Okay, and however you feel, you can come from your center. If you need to touch your heart or your solar plexus, or if standing, whatever position you feel comfortable in. Okay, so here we go. 60 seconds. I'm gonna start the timer. If you knew me, you would know how excited I am to have you in front of me. If you knew me, you would know that I'm almost like teary, like behind my eyes with excitement. If you knew me, you would know how proud I am of you. If you knew me, you would know I would feel I don't have a right to be proud of you. We're equals. If you knew me, you would know that I feel that none of that matters. If you knew me, you would know. I'd just like to sit here and connect with you, to let you feel the pride, the joy, the power that I feel is coming through you. It's your turn.
Damn. Lovely, Sonia. Beautiful. You were going in on this. This is the retreat, huh?
This is the retreat. One of the teachers introduced this as a story. She said, I do this with my friends when I haven't seen them in a long time. We have such big lives. We live on different coasts, and we come together, every so often, and so much time has passed. So it's hard to just catch up. You have so much energy, and you want to kind of get present with people. So they spend 5 minutes apiece just doing that with each other, and then they hang out. And it sort of grounds everybody into the present of where they are. Okay. So I just wanted to sort of try it and see if that's something that could be a part of this show.
I can't wait.
Are you willing to be a part of that?
I'm open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Who am I looking at? You? Okay. Wendell's like this.
We're not ready.
All right.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay, and here we go.
All right, if you knew me, you would know I'm equally and truly incredibly grateful and honored to be here. If you knew me, you would know I'm proud of you and everything that you're doing and everything that everybody here is doing, honestly. If you knew me, you would also know we are all works in progress and I am a work in progress. If you knew me, you would know how hungry I am to make a difference, to push, to try to make real change happen. If you knew me, you would know how much I love you. If you knew me, you would know how deep that love runs and how excited I am for where we're about to go. If you knew me, you would know how much my family and the things that matter to me really are.
Shit, look at me next.
Look at me next.
Look at me next, man.
That was lovely, Sonia.
Oh, I love that. Thank
That
you,
was
Ramon.
beautiful.
Oh,
tissue
thank
flying
you
in.
for your
The tissue
heart.
flying
Tissue
in there.
flying in.
Well,
thank you for sharing your
Yeah.
heart and that intimate moment with me, with us, with our audience. I mean, honestly, to have the courage to even do that. Like some people can't do that and won't do that. So And that was a surprise.
Put that out there. There you go.
Yeah,
That was
thank
beautiful.
you.
That was beautiful. Seriously. Thank you very much for coming, brother.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
I'm excited for y'all and wherever you guys take this and keep going, and I'm honored again to be here as the first guest, first podcast for me. This was a blast. Wendell, I hope we connect more.
Yeah, man,
I
definitely.
really
man.
do.
Oh.
And Andre as well. I haven't seen you in a long time.
We see each other in intermittent, whatever the word is, but we.
But when we see each other, the beauty is like I don't ever feel like it's like pick right back up.
Pick right up.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case, and especially with people in the industry. Let's be real. Like sometimes you see folks and you're like, you are not the person I remember at all.
Yeah.
You're the same person I remember. You're the same person I remember, and you're the absolute same person I remember. Not only that, y'all haven't even aged. That shit makes me sick.
We did.
Nah.
No, this is why
From
we
the
do the
waist down.
podcast.
From the waist down, I ate. From the waist down.
Barely.
A lot of gray hairs where I didn't know they were supposed to be gray
Where they're not
hairs.
supposed to be.
They're not supposed to be, man. But that's another story.
Yeah.
You won't see that in bed. I tell you that right now.
You're not gonna bear all
I'm
for
not
the
gonna bear it
for
all.
this podcast.
No, there's gonna be a couple of filters on that one. Yeah.
Well, that concludes this first initial episode.
Well, not yet. Not the episode, but it definitely concludes our conversation with Ramon.
There's
And
more.
we're gonna come
there's
back,
more.
and I'm gonna have to give I always say that we're gonna have to give the Wire fans and the Wire family some love. So we're gonna answer some questions.
Perfect.
From our feed on who's out there listening to this podcast about the Wire.
Beautiful.
Once
But
again,
bravo,
To
man.
many more,
Thank you.
y'all. To
Thank
many,
you.
many more.
Yes, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Yes.
Ramon. Thank you.
Listen, I got a quick question. I'm sorry, we're gonna have to record
not
that.
done.
We got to record that. But if your movie of your life had a title, what would it be?
Well, I mean, it's not 100%, but the one that I wrote, that it's loosely inspired by that. It's got many reasons, but it's called Man-Child.
Man-child. Okay.
Man-Child. Yeah. So it's interesting. Part of that is because we're gonna go back into this, but my father, which I made peace with him years later on, in my mid to late 20s, which was huge. This was massive. I hadn't seen him for 14 years, didn't know. I had my own narrative that I created. In fact, for a while, I used to act like he didn't even exist. I would tell myself this story. And then I was sharing a story with a very dear friend of mine, talking about it, Rosie. And she was like, "This is really, you should write something. You should explore this. And if nothing else, it's like very therapeutic and cathartic, that process." And I hadn't written anything. So I started writing. And eventually I had a moment where I was like, you know what? I had this epiphany that I realized I hadn't seen him in 14 years. And if something were to happen to him, and I knew he was in Puerto Rico, I would live with this. I would live that I didn't do nothing. And that didn't sit well with me. And so then I went unannounced and showed up at his doorstep in the mountains of Puerto Rico, and it was mind-blowing. I went there really ready to give him, tell him how I felt and everything that happened, and went down and talked to him as a man. Because I was a kid when he left. I'm like, now I'm a man. And I opened the door, and my younger brother, who when I met was a baby, is now a teenager, opens the door, and behind him is my father with a guitar in hand, and he's smaller and older than I remember. Obviously, a long time had passed. And it was interesting how like the anger and all that kind of dissipated, and it just became about us spending 6 hours together. And that was huge. And I slowly in that process began to have compassion for him and understanding what he might have gone through. And he did the best he could. And that story, so that's why Man-Child, I'm like, he was a man and he was still a child.
That's right. That's right.
You know, and I had a lot of things at that point in time in my 20s where I was a man-child. And it is that concept just something that really resonated for me. And that's why the whole thing, your past doesn't have to determine your present and future. That was key for me. So
Bravo, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful. I'm so glad we had that question and that story. Awesome.
good question, bro.
Thank you so much, Ramon, honestly, for bringing that heart and soul.
Love y'all.
Love you
Yes,
too.
sir.
That was a real cool first guest you picked, Sohn. Madam. I call you Sohn. It's all right.
You call me both.
Can I give your government name out into the world?
Yeah.
Yes,
I
everybody
think you
knows.
should be able. I think you should be able to do both.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll just say this. What I promised, or what we promised, is to make sure that we give those fans and those friends that supported The Wire from day one. This is the time when we're gonna reach out, and I put it on my social media feed. Any questions that they wanted to ask us about The Wire, I promised them that we would answer.
All right.
And I got one question from Chris Campbell at Goat Boy Rising. While making the show, when did you start to get the sense that you were working on something groundbreaking that would stand the test of time? Did it feel special at the time?
Not during the pilot.
How you gonna start laughing? How you gonna start laughing like groundbreaking, special? No, we thought
because we all watched the pilot together in that conference room
The
when we
three
came
of
back.
us.
Yeah, we
The
thought-
three of us. And we were like, oh, damn, this shit ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, we out of a job.
Right.
Back to Law and Order we go.
I remember falling on the wall, standing. I'm just like, no. I fell on the table like this. At the end of the pilot ended. We were all in the conference room. We were watching the pilot. The lights were off, and the pilot goes off. We hear that shh, and I fall on the table. Dre jumps up and like falls on the wall and go, "Oh man, we gotta find new jobs."
Yeah.
Wendell.
damn,
And from there, we were like, "Oh man, I don't know if we're gonna have a whole season."
But the moment for me, I knew something special is, is this in the first season when they killed Larry? What's his character? D'Angelo, when they killed him in
Third
prison.
season, I think. Yeah.
That's third season?
No,
so.
no, Wendell, you forget because you knew about 3 or 4 episodes in because you came to me. We were work together.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we worked together.
We were together
Chemo.
too. No, you're right. You and my sister. No, but I know. I'm remembering. You know, I didn't work with a lot of the dudes on the street. Shut up.
Chemo, yes.
Well, I'm just saying, like we were in that detail office
That's right.
for 18 hours a damn day the first
right.
season, you know. But you came back to me, you know, after about 3 or 4 episodes, and then broke it down and said because the reason why we weren't sure the show was going to go anywhere was because at the end of the first episode we couldn't quite see the arc, you know, where we knew what audiences liked. Audiences like to experience an arc during an episode. No one was used to series arcs.
No,
You understand?
the
This
rule
was
was-
a 60-episode novel, and Wendell picked that up about 3 to 4 episodes in, and then about the structural piece where David was going with it. So about 3 to 4 episodes in, you took me aside.
I said, yeah, this is a visual novel, and every chapter, we may not be in every chapter, but I can see where it's going. And that was about the time that we knew D'Angelo was going to get killed.
okay.
And when that happened, and to be killed by family or someone close to you, like that was something that was humongous when it comes to story and all. It wasn't just trivial. It wasn't just some in the street, coincidental violence. It was something on the level of epic. You know, someone would go that far to kill someone they're close to and in love with. And that was the thing that I knew, ooh, this is a different show.
Well, I saw that. I would say I saw that. Oh, I felt that same sentiment when we killed Michael B. Jordan's character.
Oh, yeah.
We killed Michael B. Jordan's character and with Bodie and Pooh, and you had the Tupac post in the back. I felt like, oh, they understand our culture, or they understand our drama, and they kind of are really detailing what the energy is like in the streets. And that's when I realized, oh, this is a different type of show. Because like Sonia was saying, you know, at that time, the climate was used to Law and Order. At the end of every episode in Law and Order, you in handcuffs.
Yeah, that's
Boom,
it.
boom, you going to jail.
There was
Right.
there was a saying in the business that Law and Order, you always were convicted, and on New York Blue,
NYPD Blue.
NYPD Blue,
That's right.
you always confessed.
Right. At some point, you're going in.
You're going to confess.
Yes.
NYPD Blue, you confessed. Law and Order, you always got convicted. With ours, it was a visual novel, and that's what really hit me.
Do you have a moment where it hit you that it was something special?
You know, I'm going to go back to, I guess, to the moment that Wendell describes, because it was sort of, you know, the Barksdale family. You know, I loved how the trials of that family were almost elevated to like a Shakespearean,
Absolutely.
level. You know, and what we can learn from, you know, tragedy. And also, there is a triumph in that family, you know, in my estimation. I think, you know, that's a deeper conversation that I'd like to talk about it, which really isn't a part of the Wire conversation, which is the resilience of the folks, regardless of the you know, the lives that they were living, or you know, regardless of the positions they were in, based on the structures, you know, that they were living in, you know, just the elevation, you know, of those lives that came through the truth telling. And I think sometimes people see the tragedy, they see the pain, and they, you know, I think in this day and age when we are trying to elevate Black joy, I think we need to be able to hold all of it and understand that our wisdom and our joy and our resilience, one does not exist without the other. They're braided, you know, and we can celebrate it all. We can hold it all.
Well, there you go. Thank you, Chris Campbell, for that wonderful question. And yeah, like we always say, or like I always say, why for life?
Why for life?
Yeah, why for life, you know. And right now it's the mayor, the Madam, and the Mayhem.
Yes.
For life. Yes, for life and love and peace and joy and all that. So, yeah, so we're thinking about what our tagline is, how we're gonna go out every week. So I'm gonna try something. This is our first podcast. We're trying our first episode. We're trying all kinds of things. So I would like to go out on just wishing, you know, everybody some little mantra, you know. May we all be safe and protected from inner and outer harm. May we be safe. May we be happy and full of joy for ourselves and other people. May we be happy. May we be healthy and strong for this journey here. May we be peaceful in our hearts. May we all walk with grace and ease. Until the next time, the mayor, the madam, and the mayhem. We'll see y'all later. Bye.